guys, and welcome to another episode of Question Block. And last week I asked, what Nintendo games deserve a remaster or a remake? So I will be discussing the responses in this video. So Kedix said, TTYD for sure. I want more people to experience this game without having to pay a fortune. It's a fantastic game in the series, and if it does happen, it will be a day one purchase for me. Yeah, I definitely agree. This is definitely one of my most wanted remasters. I don't necessarily want it remade, because I feel like the game is already pretty good. I mean, it does have some flaws here and there, like every game, but I feel like if it got tweaked with some quality of life updates, like let's say some, like a fast travel system to improve some of the, missions and everything, and also better side quests as well, and even some extra content such as the museum, like from the modern Paper Mario games, a way to refight bosses, and different things like that, and enhanced visuals as well, like the Metroid Prime remaster. I feel like that would be an excellent remaster, and definitely one of my most wanted games to be ported to the Switch. Like, TTYD is one of my favorite games of all time, behind Tears of the Kingdom, Mario Odyssey, and Breath of the Wild. It's just such a great game overall, and I would just really like to see it on the Switch. Definitely one of my favorite RPGs, and one of my favorite Mario games in general, so I think that would be really nice, and it would be nice if more people got to experience the game as well, since there's a lot of, like, toxicity and a lot of arguments in the Paper Mario community. So it would be nice if, like, all sides of the community had some sort of representation on the Switch, because I feel like a lot of the arguments are kind of spawned out of the fact that there isn't any, like, classic alternative on the Switch. I know there is Paper Mario 64, but that's kind of, like, locked behind that $50 expansion pack. So I think it would be nice to see, like, a standalone re-release of Thousand Year Door, and even bundled with Super Paper Mario would be really nice as well. Since Super Paper Mario, despite being a different game, a very different game, control-wise, I still feel like it has, it is kind of similar in the sense that it has an in-depth story, a lot of memorable characters, and it even runs on a similar engine as well. So I think it would kind of make sense to see them bundled together. But yeah, Thousand Year Door would be great. So Nate Clone said, bit of an outlandish pick, but I'd love to see a modernized take on the very first Zelda game. The original was so cryptic and basically required a guide, so a Link's Awakening style remaster would definitely help it be more appreciated. Yeah, I think, like, a reimagining of, like, such a classic game like that would actually be very interesting. Like, I had an idea before about, like, a open world remake of Ocarina of Time, but I think, like, a remake of the original Zelda would be pretty interesting. Like, they don't even have to use, like, the Link's Awakening style. They could use, like, a unique style to kind of, like, basically do, like, a reboot of the game, kind of. But yeah, the Link's Awakening style would definitely be very fitting for a game like that. But yeah, I think that would be pretty interesting. And since the original was, I mean, like, for the NES, it was pretty good, but, like, it would be at a fairly small scale if it was kind of, like, remade directly. So I think it would be nice if they kind of expanded the game, like, have, like, add more land area, kind of, basically kind of reimagine it, almost. Like, put it on the same scale of Link's Awakening, because Link's Awakening was a much bigger game than the original Zelda. Like, maybe add some side quests, add some new characters, add, like, some villages and things, but keep it, like, faithful to the original story, keep the original, like, enemies and everything, and dungeons, though I think they could, like, expand the dungeons in certain ways. But yeah, I feel like it would be interesting if it was, like, reimagined, kind of, like, the same basic story, but with more in line with some of the, like, other 2D Zelda games, like Link to the Past, or Link's Awakening, or even Link Between Worlds. I think it would be, like, a pretty interesting idea to see an expanded version of the game. So Wario Guy said, Wario Land Shake It, the art style can't go to waste, and I see a lot more they could do with the game. There are also lots of things that could be updated and fixed, and I'm sure more people know about Wario Land now than back then. Yeah, especially with games like Pizza Tower kind of bringing a lot of people into the Wario Land style of games. So I think it would definitely be fitting if Wario Land Shake It would be kind of remastered now, or we get some kind of Wario Land thing soon, because it's been quite a while since we've gotten anything. Like, Wario Land Shake It was really the last thing we've gotten in terms of Wario Land. So I think it would be really cool. And since, like, WarioWare has kind of gotten a resurgence with Gold and Get It Together, I think it would be fitting to bring back, like, Wario's other, games as well. Like, either Wario Land Shake It, or even, like, a remake or remaster of, like, the older Wario Land games. Like, I think, like, Wario Land 4 would be really nice to see. I'm not sure if they're gonna put that on the, I think, like, if they do a remake of Wario Land 4, I'm not sure if they would put it on the GBA service or not. So I feel like a Wario Land Shake It remaster would definitely work. Like, they could actually, like, remaster it so it has, like, widescreen, because the original wasn't. So I think that would be really nice. Like, just remaster it, have everything in HD, because it would essentially look like a modern game if it was in HD and everything, because the style of that game aged very well, like, despite being on the Wii. So I feel like if it was remastered with, like, HD textures and sprites and everything, I feel like it would look very nice on the Switch. And Good Feel hasn't released a Nintendo game in a while. I know they have been releasing some other games, but it seems like those other games have been kind of smaller scale compared to, like, things like Yoshi or Kirby's Epic Yarn or Wario Land. So it would be nice to see like a Wario Land game on the Switch sometime soon. It would definitely kind of fall in line with Good Feel's schedule with Nintendo, since they tend to do projects every few years, like every 4 years approximately, not including the small 3DS ports that they did, and ports and, like, remakes and things. So I think it would be really nice to see a remaster of Wario Land Shake It, or even like a new Wario Land game entirely in that same style, but I feel like a remaster of that game is more likely. So Davis Roth said, I would love an Earthbound Trilogy remaster. I've never played the games, but I really want to. Yeah, I think that would be really nice to see, like almost like a Link's Awakening style. I know that's kind of, like, it's almost like, the go-to style that a lot of people talk about, but I think it would actually work pretty well for Earthbound. Like, either that or the HD 2D style. Though I think the Link's Awakening style would probably fit a little better due to, like, the, like, kind of like the promotional art for the game being, like, the, clay models and everything. So I think that would be really nice to see a remaster of it. Earthbound is one of my favorite games of all time. I still need to play Mother 3, like the translation of that, because I heard it was amazing. But just seeing a remaster of these 3 games would be, like, amazing. Like, it would be amazing that Nintendo would actually, like, acknowledge these games again. I feel like that's, like, the only realistic way they could release some new Earthbound thing, or Mother series related thing. Like, I know they put Mother 1 and Earthbound on NSO. That was great. Like, I think it's great that they put that on there. And I do think it's kind of unlikely that they'll put Mother 3 on the GBA one. So, I feel like it would be a good way to release Mother 3 in the West, because it seems very unlikely. So they could actually make some changes and actually, like, translate it. Like, they'd be more willing to translate it if it was a remake. So I think that would be really nice. Like, Nintendo did release something recently, like, actual merchandise for Earthbound, not the, that one, thing in Japan that, where the creator is, like, eToys, like, releasing some merchandise. And this is a separate thing with My Nintendo that they've been releasing, like, some things on there. But it's interesting. Like, Nintendo either, like, acknowledges this game, like, once in a blue moon, and then just never talks about it. It's interesting, but I think it would be really nice to see a remake. of the Earthbound and Mother series. So Jeremy Gaming 22 said Star Fox Adventures deserves a remake. Make Crystal an actual character that fights with Fox and not a damsel in distress. Either expand upon the Zelda-inspired concept or do something completely different like a third-person shooter, for example. Yeah, I heard that game was underrated, and it would be interesting to see Nintendo actually significantly acknowledge Star Fox in the near future. I think that would be pretty interesting. The development history of Star Fox Adventures was just pretty interesting in general. It was developed by Rare, and it was originally like a game called Dinosaur Planet on the Nintendo 64 before it kind of evolved into Star Fox Adventures. But yeah, it's pretty interesting, and I think it would be definitely interesting if either Grezzo or Next Level Games did a remake of it. But yeah, Vanilla Gaming said Kirby 64, even though Return to Dreamland Deluxe just came out. Yeah, I definitely agree. In my video with Channel Kirby, I mentioned that Kirby 64 should get a remake, and yeah, I feel like it's definitely a pretty fitting game to get a remake, because, I mean, even though I do feel like the game aged pretty well, I do think it would be interesting to see the game in, a modern art style, and yeah, I think it would just look pretty cool overall, and it definitely has, some interesting concepts in the game, with the, copy ability fusion. I think it would be really cool to see, a more expanded take on that, with, some of the modern copy abilities. Obviously not the complicated modern ones, like Mecha, or, different ones like that, but, more of the simple ones would be interesting to see kind of adapted to kind of expand the formula of that one mechanic. But yeah, I think a Kirby 64 remake would be great, and even adding things like more playable characters like Adeline and King Dedede and Waddle Dee would be really interesting to see, and even a multiplayer mode. But yeah, I really would like a Kirby 64 remake. Definitely one game kind of up there as one of my most wanted remakes. So Naminsky said Paper Mario Color Splash. So yeah, with Color Splash, if it was ported how it is, I wouldn't really want a remaster or port of that, because I don't really think it could work. Personally, I don't really like Color Splash, but I feel like there are some things holding it back. If they were kind of revised, could make it a much better game. One thing that I think it should do is kind of adapt its battle system to be more kind of in line with the older ones. I mean, maybe not make it exactly like the older battle systems, but since Sticker Star and Color Splash are obviously kind of inspired by the Thousand Year Door and 64 battle systems, despite being significantly altered to the point where it's just kind of weird and clunky. At least that's how I feel the Color Splash battle system is. That's really what's keeping me from really getting into the game. But if they improve the battle system, I feel like that would improve the game a lot, and even improve the thing system as well. I feel like what they could do with the battle system is, rather than having everything be disposable items, I feel like they should kind of bring back the badge concept, but keep the paint. Because rather than using something like flower points like the older games, they could kind of combine the badge system and the kind of the card and paint system from Color Splash to make a system that would actually work. I mean, yeah, that would change a lot of the game, but the cards are mostly only used in battle, so I think that could actually kind of work without kind of significantly altering the core of the game. A lot of the progression and things would stay the same, but just kind of using a badge system with that a similar paint mechanic, and then also adding experience points as well, I feel like that would significantly like improve things, and then also make the process faster. Like since it's on the Switch, it would have to use like just regular button controls rather than like the touchscreen. I feel like Nintendo or Intelligent Systems really wouldn't want to incorporate that whole mechanic of like adding the paint and going through that multi-stage process of choosing an attack. Like, I think they could keep some of that, like with using how much paint in a certain attack or using a certain amount of paint. But yeah, I think it would be interesting if they kind of adapted like the older battle system into the Color Splash battle system to kind of create like something a little more accessible to most people. Like, I know, like, the developers, I feel like they were kind of intending to make something accessible, but it really kind of came across as clunky and unintuitive in the actual game. But I think, like, the battle system could work if there were a lot of improvements, and also just, like, a base Boots and Hammer, like the first two games in Origami King, would also work as well. And then maybe even, like, some redesigns for some of the characters. Like, since Super Mario Odyssey, I feel like there's been more creative freedom for a lot of the Mario franchise, so I think it would be interesting to see some of the noteworthy characters in Color Splash to have some redesigns to stand out more. Like, a lot of the Toad characters could have, like, new designs to kind of make them stand out from the rest and make it seem more like a, kind of like a more in line with the other games in the series prior to the Sticker Star. But yeah, like, if Color Splash got an overhaul, I think it could actually save the game, and it could actually work on the Switch. But yeah, I can make a whole video about it sometime, like in the series, where I kind of talk about things that I would improve about certain games. But I might touch on that sometime. So, Floppy Fiona said, Super Metroid. Metroid 1 and 2 already have remakes. Super Metroid should be next. Yeah, that would make sense, since, yeah, like you said, 1 and 2 already have remakes, so it would only make sense for Super Metroid to kind of be the next one to be remade. And it would be really nice if it was using the Metroid Dread engine. I think that would work pretty well. And yeah, Super Metroid is a great game, like one of the best SNES games. So I think that would be amazing if it got like a Metroid Dread style remake. I know like the game still holds up well, like some of the games that I've already mentioned in this video, but yeah, I think like it could still kind of benefit from like a visual overhaul. Like the original, like I do like the style of the SNES, but I think it would be really cool to see a reimagining in like the modern style and everything. I just think that would be pretty cool overall. And they could even add like new features that were in Metroid Dread as well. But yeah, I think Super Metroid would definitely work. I feel like Mercury Stream could definitely pull it off. So M64 Bros said, I would say Pikmin 1 and 2. Yeah, Pikmin 1 and 2 definitely make a lot of sense, especially considering that Pikmin 4 is happening in July. Like, yeah, Pikmin 4 were actually already re-released with the new play controls on the Wii. So I feel like if they brought it to the Switch, I feel like it would probably have a similar control method to Pikmin 3 Deluxe, where it had like both buttons and also gyro controls as well. Though I know gyro controls aren't as good as like the Wiimote controls, but I still feel like it's kind of serviceable. And the button controls are perfectly fine for Pikmin. So yeah, I think it would be great, like, to see like the entire Pikmin series playable on the Switch. Like, since Pikmin 1 and 2, I actually haven't played those games, but I heard that they're great, and it would be really nice to see like them on the Switch and everything, so I don't have to get the GameCube versions. I do want to get the GameCube versions at some point, but it would just be pretty convenient if like all of the games were available. Like, Pikmin 3 Deluxe was great, and I'm really excited about Pikmin 4. So I really think Pikmin 1 and 2 should be either remastered or remade at some point. Preferably remastered, since I don't feel like they need that many changes. Mostly just kind of like quality of life changes and different things. But yeah. Jade and the Red Fox said, I personally think Oracle of Seasons and Ages for the GBC both definitely deserve a remake for the Switch, like Link's Awakening did. Both of those games are really underrated. Yeah, I actually haven't played the Oracle games yet. I definitely want to soon since I loved Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening is one of my favorite Zelda games, but um, yeah, from what I've heard, the Oracle games look great and definitely have a lot of similarities to Link's Awakening. So I think it would be really nice to see those games remade in the Link's Awakening art style. Like, even though a lot of people have been wanting like a brand new 2D Zelda game, like if they were like making a new 2D Zelda game and kind of wanted to release something to kind of fill the gap, like since Tears of the Kingdom released, like I feel like there's not really going to be many Zelda games for a while. So I think a remake of like the Oracle games would definitely make a lot of sense and would be great to see. Though I'm not sure if it's that likely, considering the fact that Nintendo is putting the Oracle games on Nintendo Switch Online, but I don't really think that's entirely an indication, like, due to the fact that Link's Awakening is also on Nintendo Switch Online. But yeah, James05 said, Super Mario 3D Land. I would love to be able to play that game with 3D World's controls, and 3D Land has some underrated levels. Yeah, I feel like 3D Land is definitely pretty underrated. Like, even though it kind of is a bit basic compared to the other, like, 3D Mario games and is kind of the weakest one in the series, I do think it is still a great game. Like, I still think it is pretty fun, despite being kind of, like, bland and uninspired. Well, I wouldn't say it's that bland and uninspired, since I do feel like there are some interesting level themes, but the level design is great. It is a pretty well-designed game. But yeah, like, preferably, I think it would be really cool to see, like, a 3D All-Stars 2, though hopefully it wouldn't be limited time. But yeah, like, it would include 64DS. So 64DS, despite being a remake of Mario 64DS, or Mario 64, not DS, but, despite being a remake of the original Mario 64, I think that is almost kind of like its own game due to the fact that it has a lot of like different things that were added, like the playable characters and new levels, bosses, the mini games, different things like that. And then obviously Galaxy 2 would be an obvious addition there, and then 3D Land would make sense. But yeah, a 3D All-Stars 2 would be pretty interesting, and like that would include 3D Land. But yeah, so yeah, those were the responses to last week's question. And the next question is, what ideas do you have for a new 2D Mario game? How could it stand out from Super Mario Maker or the new Super Mario Bros. Games? Let me know down in the comments. So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server if you want to. Goodbye.